Everyone, welcome to the ICCD/MCC collaboration for fight against racism, our community bike-a-thon. Again, this is an MCC ICCD co-sponsored event. We are going to do an event to fight racism. We're going to do a bike-a-thon where our constituents going to ride their bike around the park, fill out, they're given a passport, which they're going to go along, look at these poster boards which have various descriptions of racism and different types of anti-racism Quranic ayats. They're going to answer the question that's a unique question that's associated with that poster, turn in the passport at the end of their bike-a-thon, and inshallah we will give out prizes to them. So again, once again, welcome to the bike-a-thon co-sponsored by MCC and ICCD. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. All praises belong to God, Lord of the worlds.
Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Oh God, give blessings to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for coming to the MCC ICCD Fight Against Racism Bike-a-thon and supporting our social service justice challenge.
Also, thank you to CIOGC for sponsoring this challenge.
President of MCC, for a few welcoming words.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First, I want to thank the people that helped us organize this event. First and foremost, I want to thank Sister Sabake Sudin and her kids and her family for really being the one that spearheaded this event. Obviously, we want to thank CIOGC for really inspiring us to do this event. ICCD of Des Plaines for being part of the, for joining out with MCC. Morton Grove Vision, CCN Compassionate Care Network, and Sahara Home Care for this event, for sponsoring this event. IMCC, the Illinois Muslim Coalition, as well as the Census Committee of MCC for helping sponsor this event against racism. Just really quick, you know, after the events of that happened in Minnesota a few months ago, I think everybody was ready to try to do their part to make changes. And just from my understanding of racism, racism isn't just discrimination against someone for racism, but it's also a system of oppression against a certain group of people. So oppression can come in many different ways. It can be in the home with, you know, parents over their children or spouses against each other. It's really a matter of power against another entity. So it can also happen in our little circles. So it can be in our mosques, it can be in our churches. So we don't think it's just racism that occurs through government or through the police department of certain cities, but it can also be in little forms of organizations. So one of the things that Imam Tariq told us, told our executives over the last week when he met with us, was the way we can fight it is everybody here wants change. I think that's why we're all here. So everybody here can be an agent of change. That means when you're in your social circles and you hear something that may not feel right, you speak out against it and you educate. And it starts with some event like this where you come and you read some of the things that you read and then you go read up on it a little bit more. So when you're in your little circles and you hear someone say something derogatory, that's where change starts. It's not, you know, we're going to try to do it on our masjid level, but it really starts with everybody here when you talk to your family members or your groups of friends and they might say something that doesn't rub you the right way. That's where you make that change. And I think that's the way, you know, Imam Tariq was telling us, that's really the way we're going to make changes, is if we start affecting our social circles. So don't let things slide, because if you let things slide, then it starts permeating to our younger generations. So once again, Jazakallah khair for everyone for making this event happen. I still got 3 more laps to go, so I'll do that in a little bit. But once again, Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Brother Kamran Hussain. I'd like to call the President of ICCD now, Brother Fazal Mahmood.
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I would like to welcome and thank everybody here for coming out in this simmering heat. Allah Ta'ala has blessed us and it is sent some wind here from Jannah, inshallah. So we are all a little bit better than what I thought when I left my house at 95 degrees outside. To CICG for providing this opportunity, and our 2 massages, MEC and ICCD, working together to make this event possible. We are gathered here to ride against racism, but I'm calling it get rid of racism. Okay, so we are riding against get rid of racism. Today, as a citizen of Alabama, Mr. John Lewis, he was one of the civil rights activists. I don't know if you have heard of him or not. He was one of the congressmen who passed away about 2 weeks ago. Today is his burial, and people, citizens of Alabama, are burying him. He had devoted his life towards the civil rights and racism also. We don't have to go too far. We can look at our own Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who 1400 years ago in his last sermon or khutbah said, Arabs are not superior over non-Arab, neither are non-Arab over Arab. Rich are not superior over poor, neither are poor over rich. And white not superior over black, or black superior over white. So this message of Islam was given to us 1400 years ago. We are in this country to 2020, we're still struggling about this racism. And if I look at this, we haven't really done much, because this thing keeps appearing every year. You know, every year there's a profiling, just not black, profiling against Muslim minorities that are oppressed, but inshallah we'll raise our voice. This is the start, inshallah. CIOCG has gotten this opportunity to bring this subject, and inshallah every masajid will be involved, and they are doing their work to not only bring this issue, but win the $5,000, inshallah. CIOCG is here, that means, we already won it, inshallah. We can go to dinner after that, guys.
Wadi's down the road.
Also, our Prophet also mentioned, if you see something evil, try to stop it by hand. If you cannot do it, at least speak out against it. And if you can't even do that, at least think it's bad. So at least we are at the second level, and that's the lowest level of Iman, but we are at the second level, alhamdulillah. We have come here to raise our voice because we can't use our hand. We're not strong enough at this time. Inshallah, we'll be one day. And then I would just like to share one of the famous poet from Pakistan, Allama Iqbal, who said, "Ek hi saf mein khade ho gaye Mahmud Ayaz, na koi banda raha na banda naraz." That means, Mahmud was the king at that time, very powerful king. Ayaz was his servant basically. When it was time for prayer, they all stood up in the same line, same saf. There was no king, no servant. In the eyes of Allah, alhamdulillah, everybody is the same. So inshallah, we'll continue our struggle, and this will not be the last event, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. Not only is he an attorney, he's the executive director of CIOGC. We'd like to welcome him coming out here, all the way out here from Chicago. I'd like to introduce Brother Abdullah Mitchell to come up and say a few words, please.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. I know it's hot, but don't let the heat fry your brains. We're still out here for a purpose. And I want to follow up the comments that Brother Maktoum mentioned in terms of how Prophet Muhammad ﷺ described that faith, that we first challenge injustice with our hands. And if we fail to do that, we challenge it with our voice. And that's the level, as he indicated, where we're at. Well, what we want to discuss right now is how you can continue to amplify that voice. That first level starts with what we're here today talking about, registering to vote. During this year, 2020, we have very important elections that will affect policy impacting all communities here in the United States, particularly the Muslim community. Recently, the No Travel Ban Act was passed by the U.S. Congress, but we have those in the Senate will not address this. If we want to see change, positive change, that is going to impact our community, we must raise our voice. And the most clear way to raise our voice is through the ballot. On November 3rd, if you have not registered, on November 3rd you must vote. If you have not registered to vote, you have organizations here today, MCC's Outreach Committee, CIGC's Committee, the Illinois Civic Coalition Committee, all with the same mission that we must be registered to vote. We must participate in the upcoming elections. The last thing I would like to share with you is it's also important that we be counted in the census. The census is how the Congress will determine the size and representation for our districts. If you want the Muslim vote to be represented, the Muslim interest to be represented, then you should and must complete the census questionnaire. So inshallah, alhamdulillah, I thank everybody who excuse me, bear with the heat. You did not defeat your intent to be out here. And on behalf of the council, we thank and welcome your participation. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Brother Mitchell. Finally, I'd like to call my brother, Imam Tariq Al-Amin. He's the Director of Civic Engagement and Interfaith Services for CIOGC. He's also the Imam of Masjid Al-Taqwa. Welcome aboard.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa salatu wa salam ala rasulullah. What comes to mind for me right now is I think about the purpose for which we have gathered this biking against racism. What comes to mind on this particular day is in the Mal Usra Yusra. Indeed, with difficulty comes ease, or indeed within you will find ease within the difficulty, and I'll explain to you what I mean by that. There have been references made to the heat. We came out, and it was, matter of fact, it was that way when I came here coming from Homewood, and you from wherever you travel from, if you're in the area or not. We looked at the temperature, we saw the sun, and we figured, man, this is going to be rough out here. But as Brother Fazal mentioned earlier, we've been blessed with what? With shade and wind, right? This wonderful breeze. So what we thought we would find difficulty, we actually have found some ease, very comfortable conditions. I want to give you something, inshallah, to think about and to hopefully help you as you move forward as individuals that are part of systems, that are part of organizations. And that is related to our prophetic model, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and all those prophets, alayhi salatu wasalam, all of them, is that each of them had to endure rejection. Each of them had to endure hostility. Each of them had to endure their own family members, people that had known them throughout their entire lives, turning their backs on them because they brought a message that was not in accord with what was existing in society at that time. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because when we think about ending racism, we think about ending anti-blackness, we think about this slogan or idea of Black Lives Matter. This does not happen without some agitation. This does not happen and will not happen in any kind of conditions where everything remains the same, everything is good. All the people that use derogatory comments, all the people that express bias, all the people that have these underlying racist mentality or conditions, these are not going to be people who are necessarily going to be pleased with anything that you have to say about Black Lives Mattering, about racism being a real thing, about white supremacy, about bias. They're not going to be pleased with any of that. And I'm telling you that because this is the same type of condition that our beloved Prophet, peace and prayers be upon him, that he encountered. There's no way to clean anything without agitation. Does anybody know what the name of the part of the washing machine is that actually does the cleaning? Anybody? Show of hands.
Spinning?
It says spinner?
Yeah.
Nope, not.
Times when it spins.
Well, yeah, that piece that spins,
Yeah.
that's called the agitator. That's called the agitator. The part that actually gets the clothes clean. It's the agitator. It moves it back and forth within the water. Now, if we think about water in its purity and in its sense, for us as Muslims, we use water. We have a very special relationship through our evolution, wudu. Right? We get ourselves clean. But it's not just an immersion where we put our hands in the water and just sit them there. No, we move our hands back and forth. We have some type of movement that goes along with that water. So we think about this in terms of education and truth. It is not enough. It's the beginnings, but it's not enough to simply educate ourselves about the oppressive systems. It's not enough for us to educate ourselves about African American history or the wrongs that have been done. It's not enough just to have the education. The agitation, there has to be an engagement with this education, with this truth. And that is what is going to bring about a change within us as individuals, and it'll bring about the change that we seek in society at large. So I want to go back and end with, we are told in Surah Rahman, and what is the reward for good but good? Hal jazalu ihsan illa al-ihsan. What is the reward for good but good? The best thing that we can have as Muslims, as God-conscious people in the sight of Allah, of our Creator, is God consciousness, is good character, excellence in character. If we have excellence in character, then we will have excellence in our actions. We will have excellence in our relationships. We will have excellence in our social order. So we engage with the education. We engage with our dialogue with one another, seeking excellence, but understanding that the sunnah, that Allah's way of introducing truth, that Allah's way of elevating people, it has been through internal agitation. So everyone here, you have, as my brother Cameron mentioned earlier, every one of you here has an opportunity in the spaces that you are in to not first just push back, but you have the opportunity to exemplify the best of character. You have the opportunity to exemplify the best of character, and behind that, everything that you say that is geared towards the right, that is geared towards pushing back against hatred, that is geared towards pushing back against racism and all those negative things which divide us, those things are taken to heart because you have already proven yourself in your own character, and what you're calling people to is excellent. So I close by reminding each and every one of us of the profound, of the huge, when I say profound, the huge and weighty responsibility that we have all been given, that is on our shoulders. And that is to exemplify the best, call towards the best, and accept nothing less than that. So we pray Allah strengthens us, and pray Allah that He gives us the tenacity, gives us the will, the courage to stand up in those spaces where we may be rejected. We pray that we can suffice ourselves with Allah's pleasure when we incur the displeasure of those around us. We pray that Allah continues to strengthen us and make us a model as individuals and a community calling to all that is right, all that is good, and help us to be an agent that allows to purify this country and rid this nation and rid the world even of this millennia-old weight and cancer, virus, burden of racism and all the isms that we deal with. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة.
Special volunteers, Jazakallah khair. Like to thank MCC, especially Sabah Kesuruddin and her family. She's the coordinator of this event. She did an awesome job. Thank you very much. Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Finally, this event, we need you to vote on August 3rd. Is that correct? August 3rd? August 3rd. Please make sure on the CIOGC website for the bike-a-thon event. Because CIOGC is here, we inshallah will win. Ameen. Allahu Akbar. Thank you everybody for coming, and continue with the bike-a-thon. All for coming. Also for, as you can see on the sidewalk, there's chalk and there are some statements written on the sidewalk. This is part of the Morton Grove Vision Center. So thank them as well. Assalamu alaikum.